Now we're good. We're live.
Hi, everybody. This is the Finance Committee meeting, May 9th, and I'm Tracy Osecki. I'm going to go, and I wanted to know that Nikki is going to be a little bit late. She's at the school concert, so I'm going to go around, ask you to introduce yourself. Starting to my left.
Bob Hickey, School Board. Michael Roosevelt, School Board.
Matt Fredrickson, IT Director. Sorry.
Ann Horner, School Board.
Tony Rapp, Director of Business Administration.
Andy Sanko, Superintendent.
Bill Hidalgo, School Board.
Linda Stone, School Board.
Ed Tate, School Board.
Yota Piley, School Board.
Okay. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I apologize for the late start tonight. From a different meeting, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Rapp, please.
Thank you, Mr. Osecki. Before we begin, a reminder that for the most accurate and reliable information in our district, we refer to resources, websites, and social media platforms managed by the council. We advise the community to exercise caution and rely on the accuracy of social media and ask the community to verify any social media content with the district for accuracy. If you question that you are seeing media fact check or additional details on that, please reach out to the district directly. Our contact information is readily available on our website at www.crs.org. Survey for over full day kindergarten with contracts to approve select food service management companies, accept the donation from giant food companies, accept donations from PTO, purchase of lawnmower, approve the info block software, approve various computer security, approve software licenses work. You'll look at next Thursday. Over license, technology school council legal service agreement, computer repair contract, coordinator 7, license, Edmark student, Anthem reading program, IXL program, learning program, News to You program, Learning HD program, and V180 program. First item on the agenda. I'm going to go over all the costs. This is a email about we are assuming an increase of 208 kindergarten students in the first year of full day kindergarten implementation. This is calculated based upon first grade enrollments over the last several years, so that's kind of like an average over a few years. And I just want to remind everyone that all amounts are approximate. There may be classroom teacher with salary benefits, $438,064. We added in 20 classroom teachers as well as 691,840. Obviously, our an estimate based on the internet, but we want to make sure that you have more information so you know what an additional 3 teachers would cost. Also, one of the things that might be a little harder to predict is how many we need to add special education teachers. That also gives you a number of additional special education teachers. We would add 7 special teachers, which we talked about before, at $593,144. 5 assistants, recess time. We have things in labor contracts that talk about certain times when enrollment we might have to add office staff. Kindergarten, which we'll talk about later. Making right now in so far the kindergarten classroom, so that's extrapolated out to 7 classrooms, what it costs us for furniture, things like chemicals and stuff like that. Regular materials, additional 77,000. $10,000 additional Chromebooks and cards would be an additional $100,530. And I just want to make it clear that we are not including any costs. So the total cost of full day kindergarten educational initiatives come down is $1,130,000. Total cost and salary and benefit expenditure in 25-26 will be $3,749,747. And kindergarten bathrooms. So, just so we have an understanding about this, according to the Pennsylvania Department of Education, bathrooms are not required to be in each kindergarten classroom. Kindergarten classrooms that do not have bathrooms in the classroom would be located in proximity to the bathroom. So if you decide not to put bathrooms in the actual classroom, the plan would be to make sure that the kindergarten classrooms are located close to bathrooms, so there would be limited issues with doing that. And again, bathrooms are not included in cost, so that's where we stand with bathrooms. Classrooms. So the director of elementary education and the supervisor of facilities met with each elementary building principal. There is room in each school to accommodate the addition of the estimated full-day kindergarten section. Full-day kindergarten can be implemented without redistricting, and capping may still apply in certain schools. And so that's all I have on the full-day kindergarten update for now. For tonight.
Questions? Anybody else? Mr. Roosevelt.
Thank you. Tony, so this is great. As a board, this body has been discussing this, and it seems that we finally got down to a startup phase or a startup cost, and perhaps maybe a total cost. And just looking through some of these things that were sent last week and the slides that we've seen tonight, it appears as if we're talking about roughly $7 million. Is that right? I recognize that some of that is coming from taxes. I recognize that some of that's educational budget.
Right. So $3,747,000
kindergarten for quite some time. I think that this well, not this administration, but the Council Rock administration has done studies over the years and produced results. And for whatever reason, one reason or another, it hasn't been moved forward. And one of the large reasons that I understand is due to cost. Numbers have been thrown around like 15 million or more. So I'm curious, in 24, where's the disparity between 3.7 and roughly $15 million? Is there something that we can?
I'm not familiar with those numbers that came from it. This is based on salary to determine how many teachers we really have. We're in a position where we have an available salary. We have salary benefit costs that are in there. The furniture numbers seem to be appropriate. The transportation decrease, has been vetted. I don't know where a $15 million number would come from, unless it involves some sort of building, or it could be that it involves the building of the inclusion of pattern, but I don't know the answer to that.
Does anybody know? Maybe somebody that.
Mr. Tate?
I've never heard anything close to that. The last figure that I heard was expressed by Dr. Elliott when she was assistant superintendent, and it was in the range of, I think I heard 2 to 4 million. Which to me at the time sounded like, a significant chunk of money, and we were at that point not in a position to think about an additional 2 to 4 million a year in our budget at that point. To me, the picture looks a lot different. I've never heard anything like 15 million, or I would be hesitant to even start this conversation. I've never heard 7 million. My recollection is, I can hear Dr. Elliott saying 2 to 4 million. I could be off, but that's the general ballpark. I think the couple of things that are significantly different here. One is we now have an education initiatives fund that the district created because we found ourselves in a very strong financial position, and the district very wisely decided to establish this fund, which I believe began at $8 million. Is that correct?
Started at 4, when moved to 8.
4 and moved to 8. 8.4. Okay. Wait a minute. Proceed.
Prior to me, it began at 4 million.
Yes.
When we had Bob Reinhardt here as the interim business administrator last year, we moved that to 8 million.
Perfect.
The formula was used. We added a whole 8 million, if I remember correctly, a whole 8 million to that budget. Is that what you remember?
I think 8, 9 was moved, yeah.
Well, yeah. We had an education fund before we started spending it down of $8 million. If it wasn't for that, I don't know that we would be talking about full-day kindergarten. The other thing is, what's the cost savings, Mr. Rath, that was found in transportation? Talking about 500. Yeah. I bet that was not factored into the ballpark when it was done previously.
Before I did you said, well, there was research done before, so I just pulled it up, and in that, which was 2014, 2015, the estimate then was 2.9. So I don't, maybe you're getting a year. It was from 2015, it was almost 2.9.
Look at that. So
So, I mean, just to try to add something to it, there was a lot of talk, because I was always saying, why aren't we doing full-day kindergarten, right? And it would be like, well, because of the costs of the bathrooms would be actually, the board would want the parity so much across the boards that we were trying to get two high schools to do exactly the same stuff. I remember speaking to maybe some of the talk that had been done when we talked about and then the question would be well, in the classrooms and others that was not so we will restrain away from that, as I said. I'm just sitting back and seeing what's happening here. Obviously, I would like to see this happen, but, there's just got to make sure all you guys understand the consequences of what we're doing when it comes to some schools, some classrooms, not having them, not moving it around. And it's something with some of these schools having intersections. That doesn't sound too bad, but if we get more involvement than we anticipate, then obviously whatever happens, we'll make it work, but there's going to be some bumps in the road, but regardless. But I'll just say, 3 houses in my house, in my road sold this year so far, and they all have 2 or 3 kids, all just not even in kindergarten yet, along the way. So I see a second baby boom coming in the next 5 years. For some reason, maybe you call it the COVID baby boom, but these kids are having big families. Let's hope.
Okay. Ms. Stone?
Something that we had talked about a little bit was if we're looking at about a 0.5% increase in taxes just for the kindergarten salaries and so on. If we don't...
0.57.
0.57.
In the
Yeah. So one of the things you talk about is what if we don't make the decision to move forward with kindergarten? Or if we decide not to do it in the 25-26 year, but it gets shifted to the 26-27 year, what would we be doing with that money? We talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so we would,
Go ahead.
so we would, if full-day kindergarten was not done, then we would obviously we would probably ask for the fund balance to be shifted, any fund balances left over related to that tax increase, to be shifted into construction projects for future construction, which is something that we need to continue funding so that we don't fall behind on our summer projects. And then there would be no tax increase in 25-26, the year that we talked about implementing, related to full-day kindergarten. The tax increase would most likely remain, but that would be able to, any tax increase that would be needed to balance the budget in 25-26 would be reduced by a factor by that tax increase in 24-25. If we were to move it up to another year, like a year later, if you were to delay it till 26-27, I would recommend that we leave it alone in 25-26 and then enact the other portion of it in 26-27. Also, I just want to, does that answer?
Yes,
right?
Thank you.
I just want to make sure, we had, at the beginning of this year, we had $8 million in the educational initiatives fund balance. We spent about $340,000 this year on smart boards out of that fund balance, so we have $7,650,000 left in that fund balance.
Okay. Mr. Hickey's going to be next, but Yoda has a quick follow-up question.
Just to follow up on what you just said, didn't you say in the last special budget meeting that you want to start saving a certain percent or like adding a certain percent for, so we can afford more debt in the future in case we want to?
Yes, I did.
So is that an option that if we don't proceed with the full day kindergarten, the 0.57% increase to go into that bucket instead of going into summer projects? Would you consider that?
Well, I'm just saying that money from next year would go to the construction funds, not permanently. And whether or not we needed more increase, depending on what the board wanted to do with construction, whether or not we need a further increase in taxes to take on more debt, or whether we would just use that as part of the balancing budget. It's kind of that 0.57% next year, meaning what was increased this year, that 0.57%, next year would be used as part of that plan, either balancing the budget or increasing the amount that we're paying into debt service.
Okay, thank you.
Couple things, and I'm not sure you can answer one, but can you go, I'm not sure what slide it is, can you go back one? I'll tell you where to stop here. Maybe not, go the other way. Wait. Well, I'll just go to this point. You mentioned one, and maybe this is a question for Ms. Binda, where you said that you talked to all the administrators in the classrooms, and they said that we have enough room in each school to accommodate full-day kindergarten. I guess my question to that is, does that A, hold true for the Wrightstown community to accommodate an extra section? And B, on a broader scope, since we need 16 classrooms, does that mean that we had 16 extra classrooms this year to accommodate students?
So, yes, it would be able to be accommodated at Wrightstown because of the number of the projection for, I believe one of the classes is going to lose a section. So there's going to be a reduction in sections the way that with the number of students in full. I believe it's 6th grade the year that we would be implementing, so that would open up the classes that was available in Wrightstown. Obviously, we're saying this without talking about changing capping, so capping would still need to take place. And then, what was the second?
I'll have to ask Ms. Binda about it. Like I said, because, are the grade school administrators, or were they all saying that we could accommodate them? I didn't know. Well, what they were accommodating.
That's based on our numbers that we know what the average increase is. We all know that when we have people that don't come here for kindergarten because we know that difference is we have kindergarten students and a number of first grade students. So the average of that difference over a few years is where we get that 200 from. So we're predicting an increase of 200 additional students that will start in kindergarten rather than starting in first grade. I asked a similar question at some of the previous ones, and the answer that we received at the time was that a half-day kindergarten classroom would become a full-day kindergarten classroom, so that whittles 17 down to some number. And then additionally, Champions, which offers the second half, as a service to come in, you don't need that anymore, so that adds some more. And then there was some IEP rooms or counseling rooms or special services or special education that accommodate a couple of the others. So all told, that's going to get the 17 classrooms based upon an additional 208. Additionally, we have more classrooms and so on. And Richborough. But to continue to that point.
Well, yeah, and which I guess, I'll finish it, but that brings up my second point that I was going to ask.
To continue with that point, does that mean that the classroom size of students would increase, or would it stay the same as a ratio of students to teachers? It would stay the same. Would environment, even with an additional 208 kids and a lot of the classrooms already being reutilized.
Yes.
It still stays the same.
Yes, we're not talking about changing classroom sizes, unless I'm mistaken.
No, so again, as Tony said, the forecast is built on first grade projections that we've gone back and looked at. That's how we arrived at the 208. Our class size guidelines would remain the same. Currently, it's one teacher to 25 kindergarten students. That does not include psychologists, specialists, special education teachers, teacher assistant. One homeroom classroom teacher to 25 students in kindergarten is our recommended class size guideline.
Okay. But you mentioned something that brings me to my second point, and you may or may not know this answer. Do you know what we get in rent from Champions for the year?
I do not know.
It's a cost share. We'll have to get the number for you. It's a cost share based on their enrollment. Champions offers two different programs to Council Rock. Champions offers program number one, which is a before and after school care program. That typically is offered at all of our elementary schools. Excuse me. The second program that they offer is a kindergarten enrichment program. Both of those programs are built on the need of the community. Currently, we have 4 sections of Champions Enrichment. 2 sections actually happen to be being held right now at Goodnoe Elementary. And, but the dollar amount we'll have to get back to you on in terms of the cost share.
Okay, yeah, because, I mean, that comes to the other point when you add in costs. You know, there's also the cost of what we don't receive in rent and or maybe revenue from businesses that currently offer some sort of daycare services to kids. Not that businesses are necessarily our problem, but we're also working in concert with them as well. My other question is just to keep in mind for the public, 2 things, I guess. The next 2 are, whatever this cost is, it does accumulate with interest over the course of every single year. So, you know, every year that we're adding on to this $3 million, you know, you got to times that by every year. It's another 3 million plus whatever the increases are, and then 3 million more and more, you know, for ad infinitum. So that's something for the study. And me personally, I have an issue, and maybe correct me if I'm wrong if this is a poor analogy, but I'm not the idea of paying for something in advance. It's like this car, I mean, hard use of it. Like, to me, I have an issue with tax. Most of the people, it's just, I know it's saying to me,
I understand that. Possibility of doing it over 2 years. To use your analogy, is more like deciding that you want to buy a car next year, and you're putting, you're taking 5% of your paycheck to put that away for the car, and then another 5% in the second year, so that it's not a bigger paycheck all at once. And that's kind of the thought process was, you have some money to minimize the cost of educational initiatives. And then to make that, because again, we have to live with the Act 1 index, and the Act 1 index is going to limit how much is taxes. And right now we have a very high Act 1 index that we're not even going to get. And I don't know what the Act 1 index next year, and so if we were implementing full-day kindergarten next year and get that full 1.14%, we might not have that and be able to do some other things.
better in other places. So, whatever the case may be, I mean, maybe that's the way you do business. I don't know. I have concerns about that. And, you know, taxpayers, especially those who are on fixed incomes, that this is how we're operating. That's just me.
No, and I understand that. I'm saying that the thought process was keeping the taxpayer in mind. They didn't have to pay an increase in the.
It's like you buy a house and you start towards it, and you start saving towards it. If you have a plan, you have to do things now that will help you achieve your goal in the future. So we will not do full day kindergarten if it's not the right thing to do for educational excellence in the district. And the other point, can you go back please to where you have your total? One more. Okay. So the 3.7 million is the total, but that includes fixed costs. Can you go please back one? The total cost is 1.138. That is to be subtracted from the 3.7. So the fixed cost is a one-time cost. It's not going to be transferred year after year. The only thing that will be transferred is the cost of the salaries of the teachers, which is the 2.6, right? So just to make it clear for people who are listening that it's 2.6, and if we split it into 2 years, as Tony suggested, what is the average increase per assessment? It was like $50 or $50, I don't remember the exact
$63 is 1%. So if we're talking about 25.7, it's 35.91.
All right, so it's $791 per average assessment. Price increase, right?
Yes.
To offer free kindergarten. Even be less than most likely.
You consider that 63 is going to go up. So I would say the same. I wouldn't want to say anything different than it's the same.
Right. So, I mean, to me, it looks like a pretty good deal if we achieve educational excellence. And I also want to say that I know these are all assumptions, but it makes sense the way the assumptions are put together, how many classrooms, how many more classrooms, the extra we have from the renovations, and what we believe that the first grade enrollment is, and assume that will be the same. So I feel very confident about these assumptions. I mean, of course, in everything we do, it's always an assumption. When you create a model, you have to assume that you do your best possible predictions, and you go from there. And if it comes in a row, we have to deal with them, as we always do.
Okay, I would just,
Go ahead.
okay. I just wanted to put in, as a reminder, one thing that worries me and keeps me up is that the state could very easily require kindergarten, students. And I think we should be ahead of it. And so we're prepared. And if the state requires full day kindergarten on year that we don't have a good Ag 1 index, or, you know, we could be in a pickle. So, I'm glad we're thinking about it now. Mr. Roosevelt.
Thank you. This has been a good conversation. I like the analogies about saving for something like a car or its home. And I think that works to a point where I don't find it consistent that this is funded by a tax increase. So it's not the saving based upon your current salary. It's based upon going to your boss and saying, I need a little help. I'm looking for a little extra money in addition to my savings. So the other ways that we can increase the education of our K through 12 program that we offer. And this cost here that we're looking at, this slide right here, of total annual costs for the first year. Worrying about 40-some teachers or individuals, staff, 17,000 teachers, 20,000 teachers, and there's 7 special teachers, 5 instructional assistants, 3 recess, office staff, and school, psychology, all of that contributes to that. And are we saying that this is an annual? So that 2.6 isn't going to be accounted for from 2 years of tax increases. We're going to have to maintain at least a 0.57 tax increase to keep pace with these additional 30 individuals. No.
It would just be the difference between their current salary and their raise.
These 30 teachers don't get paid after the first. So we're not hiring all these people.
Yes, and their amount is in the budget. Now the budget is this amount. So now the only increase to that would be salary increases.
Our baseline will go up
The baseline.
0.57 every year. If we didn't have it, it would go down 0.5.
So
Mr.
how many people do we?
What the tax increase has to be, first of all, the value of assessments go up, it depends on the book. And teachers. Salaries go to $1.1 million. We wouldn't have to increase taxes.
Right, but what I'm understanding, to make sure that I understand specifically, or does it say that
Maybe 24 teachers.
those teachers need to get paid every year? These are 4 new individuals that the district doesn't currently have.
Yeah.
So when we say that it's budgeted, we're saying our costs, salaries and benefits, 24 individual teachers. Our budget is
2.57 tax increases would remain.
That's
For 2 years.
what happens in year 3, then?
They're checks by the new budget.
Taxes would go up by another, the tax increases accumulate.
If I pay $100 this year, and now I'll pay $105 for the new teacher.
Right.
Now, next year I pay $105. The year after I pay $105.
It's going up cumulative. It's a constant addition. This district.
We don't keep adding to the number, keep adding.
I know that. I'm not saying that. That's what I'm saying. Part of that would be permanently have an additional.
Right.
We would have to tax to pay for additional. That. So we're yes.
Going up from this year,
I'm
but
sorry, it's 2.6, so 1.3 million will be 1 year, 1.3 million the second year, and then it will be whatever the teacher says as an increase.
So that's why I think that we're not going to pay for your base salary. This is a rolling increase. The district has in the budget goes every year because a couple of years ago, every year that I sat around for a budget, our budget goes up. So, I mean, we understand this, but this is cheap. Tax increases go up. And so that's kind of where we're at. This is, as you've indicated, a permanent $2 million plus minus increase every year.
Not
Hold on, I'm going to ask Mr. Rasso how to answer.
Let's say your budget is 275 million, and then you add in 2 million for the teacher. The budget going forward is $277 million. So now you have to give all your employees, and this is not a real number, a 2% increase. You now have to add 2% of 277 million versus 275.
Correct.
Is that
And that's higher than what it was.
higher? Yes, it's higher.
Right.
It's an additional 2% of 2 million.
that's how budget is.
Correct. So then what was the defense of that?
Say that we have to increase taxes every year to cover that $2 million of new hires.
I was asking the question. I say,
Ms. Horner.
2.6 full-day kindergarten teachers for not to pay them for this year would be starting next year. If we took the same 24 for this year, we would be paying them to start this year.
correct.
So we would have a whole bunch of new employees for our current kids, for education excellence, versus waiting a year to grow and have additional. However, and your point is correct, we are compounding it going on because we have to start at, if it's 7.5 million, just for example, and in 2 years, it's still go, it's already included in whatever taxes and next year in the AC side. So it is.
So I think the difference the total annual cost does, go up, but the tax increase is not going to go up every year, right? Is everybody, can we all align on that? I think that's the way to look at it. That the 2.6 is going to be included as something we have to pay for every year, but that 0.57
And this is on just the full-day kindergarten
Yes.
and not on other teachers that we could be paying for to get other educational excellence of teachers, whether they're reading specialists now, or math specialists now.
Okay,
Is that your
Mr. Take a quick break, and we're going to come back to the meeting.
Stream, get started again. People listening, stop and dialogue. Shoot. So I'm gonna stop the stream, and then we'll start again.
Change horses in midstream.